Hey, welcome back to the channel. Brendan here. In this video, I wanted to just give a quick overview of Apify and how it might be useful for you or for your clients. And we're going to look specifically at getting some Google reviews scraped for various businesses and have that automated on a schedule and put that into a spreadsheet. And so Apify has so many different actors. There's over 5,000 different actors, from scraping TikTok channels and getting all the metadata, from scraping Google Map data, Instagram, LinkedIn, Amazon scraper, or just regular websites that you can scrape and get all the content of. And I find this very useful for a number of different things, but particularly I've been suggesting it for people that are kind of new to automations and APIs, because Apify is doing a lot of the sort of heavy lifting of the API stuff that if you're not super comfortable with requests and body content and how to actually, use an API, they have a really great platform that's pretty easy to use. And so in this video, we're going to be looking at how to get Google reviews, and we can scrape it directly on the Apify website, or you can build it into an automation like with n8n, Zapier, Make, etc., to be able to scrape content on a schedule or on triggers or however you want to handle your data. So the first thing is Apify also does have a free plan, and you get $5 worth of credit per month that doesn't roll over, but you can use your $5 credit every month and not have to even enter a credit card. So it's pretty nice to be able to do that. You get $5 of credit to use on any of the actors. So you can kind of mix and match. You can run the same actor but with different data, and it's really great to be able to do that. And they have a pretty generous plan here. You can scrape, I think, like 15 gigs or 30 gigs or something like that uh, on their paid plan. And yeah, it's pretty cool. So if I go back to like the Apify homepage, you can just like type in what you're trying to scrape, right? So I'm just going to type in Google reviews, and it's going to show me 150 different actors, which is kind of a lot for really just doing the same thing. The top one here, you can see it has like 11,000 users or favorites or whatever that is. And so it's by far the most used one here. You can see other sort of lesser used ones. So, I mean, sometimes like some of the main used ones are kind of more expensive or charge you more per run or whatever it is. But this one's really pretty nice because you can scrape for 50 cents for 1,000 reviews. So with your $5 credit free per month, you can get, what was that, 10,000 reviews. And so that lets you, scrape a bunch of websites, a bunch of reviews, and get that into some kind of database or onto your website itself. So on the actor page here, we can see, just a little bit about it, how much it costs. Again, you get a $5 credit per month, so you're not actually paying 50 cents per 1,000 reviews. So let's jump into how this actually works and how you might utilize it in your workflow. So I'm going to hit try for free, and that's going to open up the actor within my console. I'm already logged in. I actually have a paid account that I'm trying out for a while. But you will see, $0 of $5 credit down here. And basically what you get is you can run this automation directly in your browser, and you don't need to hook it up to any sort of automation tool if you don't want. Basically, you just enter a Google Maps place URL and paste that in there. And then you have some other settings of like how many reviews you want to scrape, how you want to sort the reviews, whether it's like the newest or the highest ranking. You can get, the review language, stuff like that. And you can say only scrape reviews that are newer than a certain date. And this can be relative, right? So it's, if it runs on a schedule, it's going to get, if you run this every month, it's going to get only the reviews that were made in that previous month, right? So that lets you kind of stay up to date and not have to scrape all the results at once. But basically you can fill out this data, and what it does is there's a little, manual thing where you can fill out fields, or you can click the JSON view, and that is going to correspond with what we've put in our manual tab, right? So we have our 1,000 reviews, 1 month is the start date, and then our, map URL. And once you set that data up, you can then come up to the API tab here and click API endpoints. And this is going to give you a few different things that you can go through. Basically, you can say, I want to run the actor, I want to run it synchronously. And what I tend to end up using is this run actor synchronously and get the data set items, because we want to run the actor, which does the scraping. And then I also want to get the data set items out of here. And so you can basically just copy this URL and you can put that into your automation tool and then pass in the JSON data here, and it's going to be able to scrape that. So again, you can run this totally manually just directly in your browser like this. Once you do, it will show you your different runs. So I've got like 24 different runs here. I can see how many reviews I've scraped on each run, how much it cost me, when it started, all that good stuff. So it's pretty standardized and easy to kind of understand what's going on there. But basically what it's doing is this one's running, I can see it's running on the 7th of June, right? So for all you Europeans, it's switched to US format. This one ran on the 4th, this one on the 1st, on the 29th. So I have it set to run on a schedule to run every 3 days and then dump the data into a spreadsheet. So I have a spreadsheet here with all the reviews from the San Diego Zoo. I can see my business name here. I can see when they ran, see the address of the business, and then I get stuff like the reviewer image. I get the when they left the review, what their star rating was, and then the review text and the reviewer name. All right, so I just have that scraped into a spreadsheet here. And if I just like scroll down to the bottom, I picked one with a lot of reviews. The San Diego Zoo has like, tens of thousands of reviews. It's very popular. And so this one, I can see that it ran on the 7th. So that was 2 days ago. And it scraped all the ones that happened basically 3 days before that. So if I scroll up past the 7th, I can see then I get to June 4th here. Right. So then it's scraping all the reviews that happened from the 3 days before that. So it's able to keep a running log of the reviews, and I can scrape only the newest ones that were added every 3 days, basically. So if I scroll back up, it should be the 1st, right? There's June 1st. If I go back again, there's March 29th. So it's running on schedule every 3 days. And I wanted to, just let this run for a little bit and see if it, had any issues or, what it looked like. So basically, yeah, then we go back to the 26th. So again, you get the idea that it's running every 3 days for my automation. And I'll show you how to build this in just a minute. But basically, yeah, it's scraping all the Google reviews. That's, I started color coding this and I just let it keep running. And then I just, forgot about it. So it's kind of one of those set it and forget it things, right? Where it's running every 3 days and scraping only the reviews that came in during that 3 day period. Now, that might be too often for your clients. Most people don't have tens of thousands of Google business reviews, right? So again, I picked one that, is a very popular tourist destination. So people are always leaving reviews constantly and there's always new ones. But, you could have this run every month or every 3 months or something like that. And it will only get those new reviews that have come in during that last period into your spreadsheet. So let's just, let's build this out real quick in n8n. So because I want this to run on a schedule, I'm going to go to my triggers and I'm going to type in my schedule trigger. Okay. And then I want this to run every 3 days. All right. And you can choose when to start the trigger or whatever, it doesn't matter a ton. But then we are going to take this and start putting in the Apify details to be able to scrape this. So one of the things I do like to do is use a set node, and a set node lets me just basically create a manual mapping of some variables that are going to use, and then I can kind of edit them in one place. So stuff like the API key I want to put in there. Stuff like, I don't know, like the Google map URL for the business. So I can just paste it in there and then I can easily switch it out to a different business location if I need. and we'll do something like max reviews. I don't know even know if we need that, but I'll just put like a huge number in there. I think that's the highest it goes. Um, but again, most businesses are not getting that many reviews in every 3 days, right? But then I can do something like review start date. And I'm just getting in the habit of using camel case for stuff like this. So there's not really any rhyme or reason to that. It's just I'm trying to get in the habit of that. And so this would be like 3 days. And this normally you don't have to, you can't just type that in, but Apify lets you type in stuff like that, like every 3 days. And, it could be every 14 days, whatever. And so then I can pass in some variables in here. So I'll just get like, we'll just grab the same Google Business URL for the San Diego Zoo. I can see it's the San Diego Zoo. And the way to get that is just typing that in. And normally it would show up as the map pack here. I'm interested why it didn't, but I'll click on maps. And then I can just click on the business profile name. And then that changes the URL up here. So I just grab it that way. And so I pasted that in. We've pasted our 3-day review. And then so basically this lets us just execute it. And I have these values that I can reuse. And the other thing I need to do is make sure I get the API key in here, right? So I'll go back to my Google review scraper and let's see if I can do this without exposing my API key. Go to like settings, I guess. Go to APIs. Okay, let's just create a new one for n8n demo. Delete me after. Oh, I can set expiration date. That's cool. So we'll just do that. And then I can copy my API key, come back to my workflow, paste that in here. And now we have that as a field, right? So just a quick little thing about like setting, set whatever custom fields. We'll rename that to that. And then what we need to do is basically just do a post request to that API endpoint so that we can get the data. So I will hit this plus sign and then I'll add an HTTP request and we'll call this like search or scrape Google reviews. Okay. And for our URL, first of all, for our method, we're doing a post request. And you can find this also by going to your Google Maps scraper, going to the API, going to the endpoints. And we're doing the run synchronously and get dataset items. I can see it's a post request, right? And then basically all I need to do is copy this, come back to my workflow, and paste that in there. Okay. And the other thing I need to do is remove the API query parameter here. So I'll delete this here and instead add a query parameter here for token. And that's where I can drag my API key in so that it will append the URL to make sure that I'm authenticated so that I can actually run the actor, right? And then basically what we want to do is send a request in our body so that we can say, hey, here's the data we want, here's the duration or like how often we want it to run, and of course the URL for the business. So we're sending a body request in the post request here, and I'm going to use, let's see, I'm going to use JSON here. You can fill it out manually, but what's nice is it lets you come back to the run for the actor, and I can, where is it? Right here, JSON, right? So I can copy all that and then paste that in here. And that's going to send this as a body request to the API endpoint so it knows what to scrape, right? So first of all, we have some static things in here, right? We have like the max reviews set to 1,000. You can delete that and then just drag in whatever you want for your max reviews. And let's just open this. For some reason it puts it down here. Max reviews, right? So there I can see it's passing in the dynamic value into the body request. And same thing here where like the review start date, I'll delete that instead of 1 month and I'll drag in every 3 days. And then you can see it over there on the preview side. And same thing for the map location. So I'll delete what I have here and I will drag in the map location that we set before for the San Diego Zoo. All right, so that should be good to go. And I think that's all I need really. So we'll close that out. And then it's going to be able to run this request. And it's going to run it every 3 days. And it's as simple as that. I don't need to do any finagling with the like the start date's basically already set for me there with the 3 days. And so, because that matches with our schedule trigger of run every 3 days, it should work out fine. Right. So we'll hit, yeah. Well, I think I can just hit run and okay. So add request. Field input start date must match the pattern. Okay. So what does that mean exactly? Review start date. Every 3 days. Let's see what this is set to. 3 days. I think it's literally this. If I do lowercase d, now it should work. All right, so that's gonna, you can see it's executing the workflow. It's gonna take a little bit to run and it's done. All right, so we got 2 items back from the request. You can see there's no reviews. Did not find any reviews for this place. Interesting. Interesting. So it might be because I've had the review sort here from highest ranking, and I'm just going to try newest. And because maybe it's just like the highest rated ones didn't happen in the last 3 days. I'm not sure. But you can change that here. Let's run that again. Let's see what happens. It's taking a lot longer to run, so I think that it's actually getting the dataset items. Yeah. Okay, so that's what I needed to do is just change this to newest so that it gets the newest ones over the last 3 days. So what do we see? We see a bunch of data here in the output. We can see there's 28 new reviews. We can see, or I guess this is a single review. So this reviewer has written 28 reviews. We can see like when it was published. We can see the review picture of their like Google profile or whatever. And we see all this good stuff. We see this reviewer left a bunch of images as well. And if I scroll down here, we see like the address of the place, see all this good stuff. And this person, it looks like didn't give a review itself, I guess. Is that right? So let's go down to like the table view. And let's see if we can find some review text in here. There we go. So yeah, that person just left a star review. They didn't actually leave a text review. But then we have some people leaving text reviews. One of the must visit in San Diego. We've got someone writing in Russian. We've got, the San Diego Zoo is one of the best attractions. This person just left a star review, right? So yeah, we have the data basically in our automation workflow. We got 53 new reviews, and then you can decide what you want to do with it. In my example, I just have it going into this spreadsheet here, right? Where we're getting all that same stuff. We're getting the reviewer name, the review itself, how many stars, date, the ID of the review, the image of the reviewer. And then we're getting stuff like the business name. And this is helpful if you're going to have multiple businesses in the same spreadsheet. You might want to just have that separated, right? So I have the business name in there, right? So yeah, it's basically up to you what you want to do at this point. I just tend to put stuff into a Google Sheet, and that serves me pretty well. So, you would just come up here and do Google Sheets, fill out your sheet, and you can say, anytime there's a run here, we want to, add those rows to a spreadsheet. And let's just let's make another sample sheet here. Demo Apify sheet. And I think if I just let's just go make sure that we it's automation demos is my sheet name. And then the sheet itself is demo Apify sheet, right? So it's all good to go there. And I can try this with map automatically. It's going to bring in all that data. But if you want to get only specific data, you can make sure that you copy and you can name this stuff basically whatever you want here. I'm just going to go ahead and paste that in here because I just want, I just want some of the data. I don't want like every picture that they upload. I don't want a link to their profile or anything like that. I'm just keeping it nice and simple, right? So I will come back to my flow and I'll say map column automatically. Now that I've added a header, I can see this in n8n that says, okay, refresh, so I can get the headers. And yeah, then we basically just drag in the values of the stuff we want. So we get stuff like the reviewer ID, the reviewer name. And then I think I need to like go to the table view or the JSON view here. We don't have the review itself. Yeah, the text I think is what we want. So the text of the review, we want number of stars. We want the publish date. We want the reviewer image. If you have image URLs, you can do that. And then I just grab stuff like the address of the business. Oops. We'll just get rid of that and paste it there. Oops. And the business name, of course, right? If I could read. Yeah, there it is. San Diego Zoo is the title of the business. And then the run date is somewhere in here, I think. Let's go back to our schema view. And I can search here like run date. No. Let's see here. Location. No. Oh, scraped at. It's just called scraped at is the time that review was scraped, right? So now I can hit execute step and it should now create all 53 of those new reviews in my spreadsheet. I can see it was successful. We've got 53 items out. Come back to my demo. And just like that, we have our review data scraped. We have the reviewer name, the review content itself, again, the stars, the date it was reviewed, the business name. So yeah, that's basically what I wanted to show you as a quick sort of intro and a pretty useful use case, I think, of how to use Apify to get stuff like Google reviews. And I guess I never mentioned this at the beginning, but the reason that this is useful is Google has interesting APIs to say the least. They only allow you to get the 5 most recent reviews from their API. Otherwise, you need to fill out a bunch of developer docs. And I tried to do it for my business, and I was denied. So I don't know if it's like more of an enterprise feature that they don't really want to give to the public. I'm not really sure. But anyway, this lets me reliably scrape on a schedule, like every 3 days, every month, every 2 months, whatever you want to do. Get only the new reviews, put them in a spreadsheet, and then you can do whatever you want. So, I might follow up this video with how to get this spreadsheet data into a query loop on a Bricks website, right? Where I could use something like BricksForge to access the API for this and then be able to show actual live reviews from real humans with a profile picture with their name and show it on a website. And so this is a way to reliably scrape that data, get all the data you need, and do it on a free plan on Apify that lets you get, again, I think it's like 10,000 reviews every month that you can get for free. And so this is a way to get that data and work with it in a spreadsheet. So that's what I wanted to show you with Apify. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing. And yeah, I mean, I hope to check out more Apify stuff. There's so many different scrapers in here, a lot of actual business use cases, scraping LinkedIn and, doing outreach that way to like, filter by, I want to get only the CEOs of, mid-sized SaaS companies or whatever. You can do that with something like Apify. It looks like you can even access the Apollo scraper, which is, a sort of LinkedIn scraper as well. And then just to close it out, I'll just quickly go through a couple of the actors that I have. So the actors are like the scraper name, basically. So we have our Google Map scraper, Google Map review scraper. You can also scrape stuff like Google Maps and get, for instance, all the businesses that don't have a website and do some outreach that way and see if they want a website. I also use this to scrape Twitter feeds so I can get not just the tweet, but also the replies and replies to replies. And then I can use it to craft better tweets as reference and say, hey, here's a list of all the tweets I've made. Like, can you write something like me and not like an AI robot, right? You can scrape stuff like YouTube channels to get a list of really high performing videos from certain channels and try to figure out like, okay, here's the number of likes, here's the views, the view duration, what the topic of the video was, and start to kind of figure out your content strategies that way. And like you can scrape, your competitors and try and figure that kind of stuff out. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of different things in here. I've tried out a couple different Twitter scrapers. The other ones, like this one's like $30 a month, and that's not free and not that useful for me. But this one, you pay 40 cents for 1,000 tweets, and that counts against my credit. Or if you're on the free plan, it'll work for you as well. Yeah, and then like website content crawler is super useful for scraping a website, getting all that content into HTML and Markdown format, and just putting it in a spreadsheet. And then you can use it that way. So like rebuilding websites for clients, I've used it that way to, just quickly get all the content scraped. Again, you can do a lot of this stuff with, Python scripts or other automation tools. But I think Apify is a great way to jump into it and not feel totally overwhelmed. They've got really good documentation. There's a good number of video tutorials like this one that will help you get started with how to use it. And again, you don't have to use it in an API format. You can just literally click on it, fill in the details you want, hit scrape, and then it'll run. And then you can just come into your results and you can export it as CSV, XML, Excel, whatever you want. And you can even filter, like I don't want stuff like, are they a local guide? Don't really want that data. I don't really want, the like count of how many people liked the review, that kind of stuff. So you can filter out the data and it'll eliminate, or you can say, I want to include only certain data, which is kind of what I did here at the top. I didn't get every field. I just got the ones I wanted. But yeah, that's Apify for you. And yeah, let me know what you think. Hope you found this useful, and I'll see you in the next one.